50 years from now, people will look back on abortion the way they looked at slavery.
Did she face any backlash for that from people being like,
No
there
one
are people
cares.
who are arrested who don't have the ability to get out of jail the way you would, you know?
I wouldn't be surprised if the woke comes for its own, being like, you're privileged, that's why you got out of jail, or whatever. And then she'd be like, but I'm fighting for you. And it's just like, look, it is undeniable that you have many Democrats today who will publicly scream racism is bad, whereas you had Democrats in the past who would scream that segregation was good. Like, the problem is Democrats saying racism is bad is just a mask for them saying segregation is good. Democrats are outright the party of segregation today, and they've always been. That's why I'm like, I don't know where that party is, which supposedly happened. You can say it was the 50s or whatever. But when you go to Seattle or Portland, you see the libraries and they have POC and non-POC rooms. You're like, yeah, it ain't the Republicans who are calling for that. It's the Democrats once again.
Wasn't there a college where a bunch of, or a group of students of color had been like, we want our own dorm. We should be like allowed to have our own space. And you were thinking like, but I thought this is segregation. I thought we had fought against this.
They do that. They I was reading someone's article about how they have like Asian dorms and black dorms. I think it's like the UC system in California, University of California system. And the answer I think they gave, I could be wrong, was like, people want this. And I'm like, I guess it doesn't mean you make it. You know what I mean? If people choose to live next to each other, I guess there's not really much you can say. If people are looking for a dorm and you're like, that's the dorm for your race, that's the dorm for their race, it's like, that's a bad idea. Let's jump to this very Tim Pool-esque story from the Daily Mail.
Oh my goodness.
Half of Americans expect a second civil war within years. More than 40% agree with great replacement theory, and nearly a fifth expect they will choose to bring a gun to a violent political... What? Wow.
Whoa.
Alarming poll shows.
How do you poll that?
That's bold.
Call 1,000 people and be like, do you plan on bringing a gun to a political event? Like, yes, I do. Okay.
Indeed, I do.
Can I recommend against that? Half of Americans expect to see a second civil war within years, and nearly a fifth say they could one day be toting guns at a political face-off themselves. Wow. Researchers at the University of California, Davis uncovered worrying levels of alienation, mistrust, and a growing tendency to turn violent in their recently conducted survey of 8,620 adults. That's a huge sample size.
How many?
8,620.
Oh, wow.
That's like 4 times what's considered a good number. Did you take a look at the first Civil War? John Brown just took it amongst himself. What were the factions? There was one country. John Brown went and started shooting slave owners in the face. It didn't matter that there was not an organized faction. It happened when the fighting broke out, then organized factions emerged. So maybe that happens.
It's a fair point.
Maybe you get, you're going to see Texas, and they're going to be like, here's our annual report, 3,786 unborn children were aborted in a neighboring state. And they're going to be like, okay, this has to stop because we are morally opposed to abortion. And the other state says, we're allowed to do it and you can't do anything about it. How long until a new John Brown emerges? We've already had violence at abortion clinics and vice versa with the left firebombing pregnancy centers. But how long now with the current situation until you get a John Brown and a bleeding Kansas?
It comes in a thing. At the end of the day, the way I feel personally is like, it's all about responsibility, right? Like, no one told you that you had to have sex, right? And then there were all these other options that you could have done through it. So for me personally, if it was just my body and I was a woman, it's like, if I'm going to have a kid, then I'm going to have it. Where my issue comes in is with hypocrisy. As a man, I got no say in nothing, but I'm absolutely on the hook for any of the financial responsibility. You talking about it from a standpoint of the child's viable. The man has no say in it at all, period. Like, I can't say I want to have a child, right? Somehow I'm involved in this process, but somehow I'm absolutely not in control of this process at all. But I'm 100% responsible for the outcome of the process is done. And people will always use like deadbeat dads. I'm like, that's the same thing like gun laws. Like, there's laws for you to not buy guns illegally. People do it. Like, but at the end of the day, if you go to court, like, I got a buddy in Texas, and Texas will literally not give you 50-50 split. The mother gets 51% custody. Wow. So on the days that there's an extra day, she always gets the child.
Wow.
But he still has 100% child support.
Yep.
And she has a job. So that's always been my thing. Like,
System's broken.
I'm cool with the fact that the dude has no choice, no say in the matter. But what I also would like to see happen is if the dude says, yo, cool, not my body, not my choice, I don't want the kid. I'm under no obligation to take care of the kid. The man should have that same right too, in my opinion. Let's keep it fair.
A hefty show. A lot of people are responding to last night's episode. Ian, I apologize for being heated. That was
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, man. Our friend, I
thought
love
it was
you.
a good conversation.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like my ego is bruised. I get upset, but I still love you, and we need to keep doing this and things like this.
Yeah, I feel like some people might think like, I don't know. I actually thought the heat element was was good. I thought it was like getting that stuff out and having those conversations.
Like we're 15 at Taco Bell again, just talking about magic cards in the universe.
But I'll say that then, a lot of people are mentioning last night's episode. We went long. It was like an hour. And then I just went on this like rant about morality and stuff. And then Ian challenged some of my positions. He made good points. And a lot of people were like, actually, it was really good. So you should check it out. But we're going to have one tonight, and it should be a lot of fun. All right. You Know Who says Timcast just lost half of its paying female subscribers when Ian casually let it slip that he has a girlfriend. Unsubscribed.
No. They'll be back.
I can't resist.
I'm really excited for Cast Castle because I saw what they were working on today. And I will say this fully candidly. The first part was a little drawn out and rough. And I was like, okay, I got to give you some notes on this. But then the plot lines, the next two were just masterfully done. Like it's rough. We're not a big production studio. We've got a couple camera guys and some comedians, and we're making something work. But it was good.
Kara's great. Kara's my girlfriend. Kara Shellbrenner. She's a natural.
She nailed it.
Yeah,
it was funny.
Yeah,
it was really good.
Thanks, Kara. You're great. Love you.